Welcome in to this week's episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Before we begin with our normal show, we'd like to take a full minute in respect to everyone who lost their lives in Las Vegas. Whatever your stance is, your belief system, we encourage you to pray, to meditate, to reflect, maybe just a simple a minute of gratitude for your life, for your loved ones, for your families and friends, and lifting up those people who are hurting due to losing some family and friends this past week due to the horrible tragedy in Las Vegas. So please do that with us now for the next minute, and then we will start our regularly scheduled show.
Raiders! It's Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter. That's right, Murf and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Touchdown! Kenny Stabler goes all the way.
We miss you. We love you. And we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby.
I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
Welcome in to episode number 49, the Jamaiz Olawale episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Welcome in. I am your host, Sonny Dago. With me in studio, as always, is my more Pollyanna hosted self, Murf, this evening. I'm a little down, but Murf's still up. Murf, how you doing today?
Sonny, I'm doing fantastic because it's always a good time to get in the Dago Dungeon and talk a little bit of Oakland Raider football. No, it's not perfect. Things never are. Yes, they can always be better. But you know what? I'd rather be doing this and talking about the Raiders than, I don't know, being a Browns fan or maybe like, pick a baseball team.
How about the Oakland Athletics?
I was hoping you were going to say that. Yes, exactly. Our beloved Oakland Athletics. Did anybody notice that the season ended? Anybody?
Nope.
Anybody?
The season ended for the A's about 3 months ago.
I know, right? Especially when they started once again trading off all of our favorite players. And hey, Sonny Gray's a Yankee. Stop me if you've heard that one before.
That's ridiculous. Freaking ridiculous.
Anyway, yes, I'm doing good. So glad to be back here. Glad to talk a little bit of Raider football. And, hopefully this is the week out of the last three that finally we get this thing turned back around a little bit.
You're a little more optimistic than I am, Murf. I'll be stat stacking it this week. I got no reason to hide it no more. My joy will be hidden like the point production and offensive juggernaut Raiders offense is and has been the last 2 weeks. But before we get into all that, let's hear from Uncle Mark about where people can find out more about our show.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at RaidersFanRadio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
All right, thank you, Uncle Mark, for that beautiful intro. And Murf, before we get into, discussing what happened, what went wrong against the Denver Broncos, before we get into discussing how we will take out all of our anger on those pretty little birds, the Ravens, this week, and before we explore the black hole of the internet that you so graciously bless us with each and every week, let's go into the quite full Sea of Fans mailbag for the week.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is! Oh, he caught
it. Sonny, every week we dive into the Sea of Fans mailbag here on Raiders Fan Radio. And you know what I like about this segment is this: it gives us an opportunity to share with the rest of Raider Nation what's going on with some members of Raider Nation. And Raider Nation is such a cool, diverse, awesome group of fans. It's nice to hear from so many people that we've heard from this week, because you know what, Sonny? This week we're all kind of feeling the pain a little bit of the Raiders. I mean, for various different reasons, and I think that we hear about all of them with our group of callers this week. So let's hope that this can be a cathartic experience for all of us as we all kind of share in what little bit of misery that Raider football has been this week. So we're going to start off with our friend Big Raider Trucker.
What's going on, Sonny and Murf? This is Big Trucker Raider, not to be confused with the gentleman who does YouTube videos. I pulled into a truck stop here in Weed, California, headed up to Vancouver, and I just had to stop and just vent after this game, listening to it. All I could truly say is, what's going on with this run game? At what point in time did we sign Marshawn Lynch to realize he was the savior? He's not the savior for the team. He's the savior for Oakland. I was going to let this one sink in, really review the situation on what I just witnessed. After seeing the press conferences, I follow the Raiders on Snapchat, and they interviewed Donald Penn, and it may have been the short clips, 10 to 20 second clips, but all he kept saying was, next man up. Oh, I got my position because somebody got hurt, and it's just the next man up, and next man up this, and next man up that. Congratulative of E.J. Manuel, and yeah, E.J. Manuel came in and marched us up and down the field and really gave us a chance to win, and yada, yada, yada. Not once did I hear anything about Derek Carr. Not once did I hear our leader, our fearless leader, who has helped this organization back to the glory days. Not once did I hear him say, hey, hope Derek's okay. Hope Derek's doing good. I don't want to sound ridiculous in this. I don't want to sound dumb for even bringing this up. But do you truly believe Derek Carr is standing for the national anthem? That him and his offensive line who sat, but they're really still on the same page? That's a question that only the Raider Nation can answer. All right, Sonny Murf, let me get out of your hair. This is Big Raider Trucker again, and I'm just frustrated, guys. Just really frustrated. You guys have a good one.
Appreciate you calling in, Big Raider Trucker. as I'm sure many of us, I know myself and many of us across the great Raider Nation can relate. It's like it's beyond frustrating. And as we said on our show on Sunday, we did our first Raiders Retort, which was live on Facebook. Should be live again this Sunday evening. It's not so much that the Raiders are 2-2 and just came off playing two really good defenses as we watched the Redskins put the Chiefs to the test. And as much as we hate the Chiefs, they're pretty good this year as well. It's the fact that coming into the season, the Raiders were touted as being the darlings of the NFL. They were touted as having one of the most potent offenses in the NFL. They were touted as having one of the most effective running games because of their offensive line, as well as Marshawn Lynch. They were touted as having one of the most dynamic passing offenses with Cooper and Crabtree, and the addition of Cook and Patterson, not to mention the $125 million man in Derek Carr. They were touted to have a great offensive guru mind in Todd Downing. I think for me, it's the expectations were through the roof, and the reality has been kind of on the first floor. It's not so much to me that the Raiders are god-awful, because they're really not. They're 2-2. They just played one of the best defense in the league in Denver. So it's not that they're so awful. It's that the gap from what I expected based on the hype preseason, that gap is pretty big. And that's what has me kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then you add in all of the stuff with the anthem and with the rumors and all that stuff. And I don't buy into it, to be honest with the Big Raider Trucker. But it's not fun. And it's not depressing because it's sports. And if sports make you depressed, we'll turn it off. But it's like, this is not what we expected. I don't know, Murf. Am I crazy or what do you think?
No, I agree, and I think that the way that he ended his voicemail, you could just hear the defeat in him, and just saying, "I'm just frustrated." And I think that's what all of us are, is that we're just frustrated. And we got a couple other callers that are voicemails that are gonna address some of this, but I think the notion of the offensive line, playing intentionally bad or whatever, I don't think any of that is true. And I think people that are floating those things out there and discussing that and sharing the fake news articles and all the stuff that's out there about that, I think that's just a silly notion. But there is something to the idea of that whatever it is that was going on, I hate to use the word distraction because it's such a cliche sounding thing, but it really truly is in this point. And we discussed the maturity of the Raiders in the past about their lack of ability to compartmentalize these things and to move on from whether it's, the team, their body language when Carr gets hurt or whatever else. It's just, there's something funky going on that, like you said, we didn't expect. And it's not just the line, it's Carr too. And it's a lot of the team, and it's just not at all what we expected. So no, I don't think you're crazy at all. And I think that overall frustration that he talked about at the end of his voicemail, that's just kind of what we're all feeling. So anyways, the next up we have, let's go to Chris in Hayward, California.
Hey, what's up? This is Chris from out in Hayward, California. Anyway, I saw the tough loss that we took today. It seems that ever since I hope that the Redskins loss didn't get too far in their heads, but it did seem to have somewhat of an after effect in today's game that the Denver defense seemed to be taking a blueprint in their cue from the Redskins as far as tack. And I thought it was very interesting that E.J. Manuel seemed to have a lot more protection, a lot more time to get off his passes than Derek Carr did, even before Derek went down with the injury. And it definitely, all hats off to the defense, though, especially Khalil Mack, of course, that the Broncos couldn't get a touchdown, even though in 3 times being down in the red zone, plus 4 sacks. It was just a tough break that Simeon's knee hit on the ground just a split second before that fumble. We could have definitely used that break. And, it's always tough to play 3 of your first 4 games on the road to start a season out. We have probably the toughest schedule in the league this year. But, hey, 3-game homestand. Season is still young, and I'm sure they'll regroup and they'll play. Their offense will be fine. I just hope that we get those two, our secondary to be healthy. So, anyway, that's my hot take on it. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, thanks, Chris, for your hot take.
Everybody sounds about like, I think everybody's demeanor is about like yours, Sonny.
It's like we all just got kicked in the nuts, and we're all trying to make sense of it. Something that he said, and this is something we had talked about way back when the schedule first came out, is the Raiders' first 4 games, 3 of them were on the road, and that's tough to do. You know, we had to go all the way to the East Coast, Washington, D.C., come all the way back, and then go to Denver. And, you know, hatred aside, Denver is freaking good. And so's KC, for that matter. But Denver's good, yet we held them to 16 points. And I think, like Chris said, our offense should have scored more than 16 points. The defense did the job. I mean, did you ever think you'd be saying that this year, Murf? That the defense did the job and the offense didn't? That's an issue. One thing I do want to point out, though, is in week 4, the fastest release time in the league belonged to the Raiders. And it wasn't Derek Carr, it was E.J. Manuel. And his release time was 1.89 seconds. So it wasn't the fact that E.J. had more time to throw the ball. He was getting rid of the ball faster, under 2 seconds. That's incredible. In a game of split seconds, where the slowest in the league was Kaiser from the Browns with 3.1 seconds. So there isn't much, right? I mean, 3 seconds is essentially the longest time a quarterback's holding on to the ball. But E.J. Manuel led the league with 1.89 seconds. So he looked good, but it wasn't so much that he had more time than Derek. It was that maybe he was doing more with the time he had. Another interesting stat, Murph, is the Raiders lead the league in the least amount of pressures allowed this season. Because we're all saying, what the heck's going on? Derek Carr's getting sacked a lot, yada, yada, yada. That's actually not the case either. The Raiders, I think 88% of the time are not allowing pressure. The times he's getting pressured, though, is he getting sacked. So the Raiders have, let's see, let me make sure I get this straight. The Raiders' offensive line has allowed the least amount of pressures in the NFL. However, they have the highest sack-to-pressure ratio. So Derek Carr, something's going on with Carr. He's not getting rid of the ball. The first 2 weeks, he got rid of the ball flawlessly. He actually led the league the first 2 weeks with a 2.04 release time in week 1, and then week 2 was a 2.11 release time in week 2. Week 3, he was nowhere close, and then week 4, EJ led it. So that begs the question, did something happen with Carr against the Redskins, like Chris pointed out? Did the Redskins find the blueprint for stopping Derek Carr? And then the Broncos perfected it that much more? I don't know, Murph.
Well, you can do that when you have the secondary talent that those teams do, right? I mean, when you look at the secondary of the New York Jets and the Tennessee Titans, the talent there pales compared to what it is of the Washington Redskins and especially the Denver Broncos. So while, Carr has had, that was kind of one of the knocks of him early on in his career, right? Was that he hung on to the ball too long. So while it certainly seems that there potentially could be an issue there again with that, there's also the fact of the matter that guys aren't getting open. So he's not going to just throw it. He's done a pretty good job of taking care of the football as well. But if guys aren't getting open, your line can only protect you for so long. And that's really, when one of the things that goes hand in hand in football, right? Pass rush complements a secondary and vice versa. That if you can cover guys long enough, eventually that pass rush is going to get there. And if the pass rush can get there quick enough, then your secondary doesn't have to cover for as long. So, it's just one of those things that I think it's, unfortunately, a perfect storm for the Raiders. And to compliment E.J. Manuel that, he is getting rid of the ball quicker, certainly. I wish he would have on that last play in Denver and dumped it off to Alawale, who was running wide open, instead of forcing it into double coverage. But aside from that throw, he's done a pretty good job of getting rid of the ball. And so, look, if he can do it, then Carr ought to be able to do it too. So hopefully that's something that they get fixed. As far as the defense goes, you asked, is that something I expected? Heck no, not even. And especially considering the injuries and the lack of, our number 1 and number 2 draft pick being out there. I certainly didn't expect the defense to show up. And, we're going to get into it later when we get into 3 reasons, but I think that's one of the ways that the Raiders can impact the game heavily against the Ravens upcoming is the play of the defense and some of the creative stuff that they're doing defensively, mainly Carl Joseph. I just love that guy blitzing. All right, next up. So this is a kind of a funny one here. Next up, we have Dakota Raider.
Hello, Sonny and Murf. This is the Dakota Raider. I'm not calling about.
And there you go. No wonder we never get a full show listen out of the Dakotas.
Their internet can't work long enough. Their internet don't work.
I guess not. Yeah, you must have hit the wrong button there or something. So,
well, hey, Dakota Raider, we appreciate you calling the show. We'll consider that 1 towards the 3 that it requires to be a made man on the show. So call back. We'd love to know your thoughts. I want to know what you're truly calling about, because all I know is you're not calling about.
Next up, we have good friend of the show, Eric Q-Dog.
Greetings, Raider Fan Nation. Sonny, Murf, what's good? Eric Q-Dog Radio again, your 2-timer calling you back. Look, I'm going to make this call brief and I'm going to get to the point. No crying over the Redskins game. Put that behind you. We are Raiders fans. We don't whine. We don't cry. We don't mutter. None of that. Stay focused. Focus on the division. AFC West. That is what we focus on. We handle that. We handle our business. We take care of the playoffs and everything that comes with it. Let's go on and get that Lombardi. And one more thing. Always remember, silver, black rules the day. Shout out to the D.C. Metro Raider fan base and the North Virginia Raiders for, definitely, setting us out. It's a shame we lost in FedEx Stadium, but you know what? We're going to be all right. All I know is this much. We got to focus on the Donkeys. We got them coming up. Man, we got to smash them in the mouth. They're going to give us more what we had this past Sunday. So definitely, we got to bring it. We got to rep. And I know one thing. Crabtree, you better not get your chain snatched this doggone game. You a doggone Raider, man. You leave that 49er mentality behind you. Once again, shout out to Raider Nation. Love you guys. Liz Silver, rep your black. Shout out to Raider Lamb, Raider Cliff, and all the defenders of the silver and black DFW chapter. Coming your way. We're going to see you, baby. One nation. Equal protection under the law. All Americans. Rule Raider Nation.
Q-Dog, I don't know what he does for a living, but he should quit and go and pump up the Raiders' offense before the game from now on.
I know, huh?
You know what I'm saying?
I'm ready to run through a wall for that guy.
Man. I mean, great voicemail, Q-Dog. Unfortunately, the Raiders need to hear it, and unfortunately, they didn't take care of the AFC West. That's one thing we talked about in last week's show is that the Redskins' loss was a good loss. That's an okay loss. It's non-conference. They don't matter. We have to take care of business against the AFC West. Unfortunately, we didn't. And we looked a little better against Denver, but we lost our car. And now we don't know what's going to happen. We're all hoping an E.J. Manuel, I think, is a little better than Matt McGloin. The hope this year is a little more grounded than the hope last year in the backup quarterback. But the Bills got rid of him for a reason. And not too many, and we'll get into that later. Anyway, appreciate the call, Q-Dog. Appreciate you repping out there, DC Metro. We love that fan base out there. Hope we'll get out there one day. And I know Raider Nation put on a great display out there for the Raiders and the Redskins. This is too bad that the Raiders' offense and defense didn't show up for that game. But that's 2 games ago, Murph. Moving on. Anyway.
All right, keep the faith. Keep the faith. We're good. Remember what Eric has to say there. We're good. We're good. We got this. We got this. We just look. We don't even have a losing record yet. Everything's going to be just.
Why you gotta say yet? Why you gotta say yet, bro? Why you gotta say yet?
Oh yeah, I know, right? Hopefully, we'll just avoid it entirely. Okay, so next up, we're going to head to a little bit north of where I live, and that's to Kentucky, and hear what James has to say.
Hey guys, my name is James out of Kentucky. I'm just calling to say, a lot of things were shown today, and that's we can overcome adversity when we need to. Johnny Holton came up big, with Carr's injury. Last year we were left in a very rough place with Cook and McGloin, and it just was not going to work. So EJ Manuel proved he can come in and lead this team. Yes, it ended in an interception down the stretch, but you know what? And that's what we need because, Carr's having back issues. So we need to, if we can get the run game going, I think that it'll take a lot of pressure off of Manuel and Carr and these guys, and it will open up a lot of room for Crabtree, Cooper, and Holton. Roberts as well. We need those guys to come up big as well. But I think it all starts with the run game, and it all starts with overcoming the adversity and being able to finish big plays. And I think we have the ability to do that. Coach Del Rio's got us rolling, and it's one of those things that, we're showing that we are that team. We are the team that made it to the playoffs last year after the long drought. So it's one of those things that now we need to prove that we can take that next step. Look at other teams around the league. Look at how New England's been faring lately. New England's not looking good. You got the Packers not playing overly well. The Falcons losing to Buffalo. It happens. Teams lose. You got the Rams beat the Cowboys. These teams are not supposed to win, but us in Denver always beats us once. We always beat them once. That's usually how it goes. So it's one of those things, I'm not sweating it too much. We are now 2-2. We just got to look forward to the next one. All right, guys. Go Raiders. Raider Nation for life.
Thank you to James in Kentucky. Murf, we're getting the Midwest hard this week. It's nice to know. I agree, James. We're not going anywhere until our running game starts going where. Lynch's numbers the past couple weeks have been abysmal. Against the Redskins, 6 carries for 18 yards. And against the Broncos, 9 carries for 12 yards. We brought in Lynch to be the difference maker. We brought in Lynch for the game against Denver in Denver. We brought in Lynch for the Chiefs at Arrowhead. And so far, he's not who we can count on. Now, our good friend Ted Wynn, he'll stay. It's not Lynch's problem. The problem is when the other teams are putting 7-8 guys in the box, we're not adjusting. And there could be some truth to that. There was a statement today by Greg Papa who stated that Todd Downing told Derek Carr, don't check out of anything during the Bronco game. So we don't know. It could be a play calling issue. It could be not being able to audible out of the plays. Who knows? But there is a problem, and we're not running the ball. And we need to run the ball effectively if we think this team is going to do anything as regards to even winning the AFC West, let alone challenging the Patriots or the Chiefs or the Broncos, for that matter, for a chance to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's I'm going to save my take on that when we get to 3 reasons, because certainly the running game and the performance of the offensive line is going to have a huge impact. Not that they ever don't, but I think it's critical upcoming against the Ravens. All right, next up, we're going to go back out to the West Coast and talk to Junior in San Diego.
Hey, what's up, Sonny and Murf? I'm here from San Diego, California. The positives is EJ looked pretty good, man. He got in there and started swinging and connecting. Too bad 87 didn't hold on to the ball. And Carr's looking pretty scared, like he's going to get hurt again. He's not playing as usual. But Mac is a beast. The game was pretty sad at the end because we didn't win. But overall, last but not least, the last 2 games we've been playing ex-Raiders. Redskins, half the team is ex-Raiders. Pryor, etc. And today, our old offensive line coach, they know our team better than anybody else. So hopefully the next couple games coming, we're going to be better. We will be better. So go Raiders. Junior from San Diego, out.
Thank you, Junior. Appreciate the phone call. Say hi to Johnny down there for us in San Diego. Murph, you brought up several points that we could riff on here. We'll save till later. Cook, we talked about that on the Raider Retort on Sunday night via Facebook Live. Cook dropped not 1 Murph, but 2 touchdown passes in that same series, man. That EJ Manuel placed perfectly. That was 100% on Cook. The first one he dropped, that was a dime. Cook was falling out of the end zone. All he had to do was catch the ball, touchdown. The second one, yeah, he was going to get clobbered, and he did get clobbered. But what's the old adage, Murph?
You're going to take a hit anyways. You might as well catch the ball.
Exactly. And it never comes down to one play. But you know what, Murph? Sometimes I hate that statement because that's an excuse statement.
Yeah, because sometimes it kind of does.
Sometimes it kind of does come down to one play. You know what I'm saying? If Cook catches that, we go up. That's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not.
Yeah, because the converse of that is that, well, then you got to make all the plays. Well, yeah, like
exactly.
Ideally, you make all the plays, but sometimes, yes, it does come down to just one play because you're not going to make all the plays. So I forget. I believe it's the late great John Facenda that great players aren't always great, but they're always great when they have to be.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And we needed Jared Cook to be great. You know, our friend Kevin, the Raider nerd, called it week 1. He's like, I'm looking for big things out of Jared Cook for guys like me that have been watching him play since he was here and playing in Nashville for the Tennessee Titans. The guy is a money quarterback. And what did I say going into this season, Sonny? He's never had the kind of quarterback that until last year with Aaron Rodgers and now with Derek Carr. And frankly, like you said, in this case, it was E.J. Manuel. It was on the button, man. You got to make those catches. I mean, he's such an athletic player. That's like, gosh, man. I mean, that's talk about a letdown, man. Like the guy that no one expects to make plays, the backup quarterback comes in and makes the plays. So then now the guy that the starter, the guy that should be making the plays is the one that lets you down. Like that's just got to be devastating for Manuel, frankly.
I agree. I agree.
Okay. All right. We got 2 left. So this next one we're going to play. Grab yourself your frosty adult beverage, if you will. This one's a few minutes long. Our fabulous Uncle Mosh, who provides so many voiceovers for our show, said he wanted to get on this week. He wanted to give a little bit of a rant. I told him to call in, and we'll feature him on the Sea of Fans. And he said, no, I want to come by and record it. So I said, all right, so come on by. So he came on by, and we recorded this here in the Dago Dungeon South. And here is Uncle Mosh, or as he calls himself here, the Raider Hater.
Sonny and Murf, Raiders Fan Radio. You guys are preaching. That's right. You're standing up on the pulpit and you're going, love. We all need to love each other. And with all that stuff going on, love this and love that. And then 30 seconds later, the next thing out of your mouth is, oh, man, I hate the Broncos. I hate the Redskins. I hate the 49ers. Well, you know what? What you got here is the Raider Hater. Haters gotta hate, and I'm a hater. I'm the Raider Hater. Oh, sure. We're in a time in our society right now when everybody's preaching love this and love that, and we all got a cause. I'm here to claim the only good cause in sports that's worth talking about is how to hate. Now, hear me out. When is it appropriate in everyday life to walk down a street and look at a person and say that you hate them because of their ethnicity, their handicap, their national origin, their religious preference, their gender, their speech pattern? The answer's never. It's never an appropriate course of action to hate somebody because of that stuff I was just talking about. But change that up a little bit and go into a bar in Boston and announce your hatred for the Yankees. You'll never buy a drink that entire evening. Heck, you might even be on the ballot for mayor. You see where I'm going? If we as fans, athletes, owners, managers, coaches, whatever we are, if we keep our causes and our issues out of sports and stick to just hating people because of their mascots or their hometowns, life would be so much easier. So here I am. I am the Raider Hater. Why? Because the Steelers suck. New England cheats. The Chiefs are losers. The Broncos blow. And the 49ers are, well, they're the 49ers. I need no other reason to hate them than they're the 49ers. Look, I'm old school. And there's no such thing in my world as the Immaculate Reception. They cheated. And the Tuck rule, it should be called the Foxborough Cornhole. That's right, I said it. When I started watching the Raiders, we prided ourselves as being the most penalized team in the NFL. We had a QB that partied hardier than Broadway Joe. We had a lineman from the University of Mars. And our owner, for crying out loud, drafted a punter with a broken foot. We were the bad boys of the NFL, and we hated everybody. You know why? Because everybody hated us. I am the Raider Hater, not a Raider hater. So, we hate the Ravens. Is it because we hate Ray Lewis? Is it because we hate Jamal Lewis? Do we hate Joe Flacco so much that we hate the Ravens? Is it because they beat us that year they won the Super Bowl as wild carders? Who was the first team to win the Super Bowl after being a wild card? That's right, our beloved Raiders. The Ravens got to come in a few years later and copy us. We hate the Ravens. The biggest reason we hate the Ravens is because of Trent Dilfer. We hate Trent Dilfer, and we hate the Ravens. Trent was born and raised in Aptos, California. He's connected to Oakland by Highway 17. He went to Fresno State, for crying out loud. Are you going to stand there and tell me that he did not grow up loving the Raiders? You got another idea? Trent Dilfer gets out of the NFL without ever working for the Raiders. Did he go to work for the Raiders afterwards? No. Come on, Trent. Don't tell me you're a 49er guy. You did play a season with them, or a couple snaps anyway. That right there is enough reason to hate Trent Dilfer and to hate the Ravens. With all that being said, boys and girls, remember, our country is a great place, and we have great problems. And we need to continually work to make ourselves a more cohesive unit off the field. But on the field, we need to keep hating. We need to hate long. We need to hate deep, hate often, and never forget. Next week, I'm so excited. I'm excited to tell you why I hate the Chargers. Raider hater, out.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our family.
The best part is he's a school teacher. He's in charge of kids' futures. What the heck?
This is the man molding America's youth. He's teaching them how to hate. But does he not have a good point? And
He has a great point.
Right?
A freaking great point. And frankly, it's lost in sports. Nowadays, the players want to exchange jerseys and sign them for each other and put them on their wall. And I totally agree, man. Like, yes, outside of sports, love everybody, right? Obviously. But I wholeheartedly agree. If I see somebody with the Broncos freaking hat, I'm talking junk, dude. My good friend, one of the groomsmen at my wedding, texted me on Sunday and says, "Hey, you gonna watch the game?" I'm like, "F you and your team." He goes, "What?" I go, "It's game day, bro." I go, "For 3 hours, I hate you." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And then we talk trash for the next 3 hours, right? So it's like, I agree, man. That stuff is lost in sports. Rivalries are fun. And yes, we hate the next opponent on our schedule. So that was good, man. Appreciate you calling in, Uncle Mosh.
Thank you, Uncle Mosh. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's just nice. It's nice to hear. It's nice to hear that old school approach because, that's, that all these, the Steelers and the Cowboys and the Chiefs and all, I mean, these are old school rivalries, man. Heck, our one with the Cowboys is almost like it's a franchise rivalry, right?
Yeah,
the idea that these two teams have never met in the Super Bowl out of all the times in the history of the NFL that they were great. And it's just, I'm with Mosh. And so, I'm with you. And thank you for him to call in. And it was nice to hear all that because it kind of cleansed the palate a little bit for me. That it was not, you know what I mean? It was like to hear the aggression of, screaming the Steelers suck. That's just like, oh yeah, that feels good. That's nice to hear that. All right. Last up on the Sea of Fans mailbag, we go to our good friend, Made Man, which also real quick. Our first was Johnny in San Diego, then it was Chuck, and I believe is Q Dog next up. I can't remember if
Q Dog has two. He's
got two. Okay, so he's got one more, and then he'll be a Made Man next up in the Dago Dungeon here on Raiders Fan Radio. But as for right now, our second one is Chuck, and a very, very interesting point. You'll want to hear this one.
Sonny and Murf, splatterhead rant time again. I didn't feel this way right away, but I've thought about it. I really think we need to pull the trigger on Kaepernick. Connor Cook is not a number 2 for us. And let's face it, Derek may come back hot, or Derek may come back the way Derek has looked for the past 2 weeks. And I know it's not all his fault, but he's noticeably frustrated, flustered, and something's missing there. If he comes back and he's flat, we need a number 2 guy. And If you look at the free agency right now, who's available? Kaepernick's the guy for backup. And I say we give EJ a shot, see what he does. And we let, if Carr comes back and he's ready to start, we let those two fight it out for the number 2 position. Anyway, that's my take. Go Raiders.
Thank you, Splatterhead, for your call. Interesting take. I've seen that float around quite a bit on Twitter and Facebook that we should sign Kaepernick. Kaepernick and Lynch would, have a love fest doing their stuff for the anthem and all that kind of jazz. There's only one problem with that theory, though, Murph. You know how much money Derek Carr makes?
A lot. What, $26 million a year or whatever the heck it is?
Do you think for any second Reggie McKenzie is going to be paying that man that much money sitting on the bench? Holding the clipboard?
No, I don't think so, and I don't see it. And I think if this were Al would have already had a way to make this happen. I think that Kaepernick would have been a member of our team, frankly, probably a year ago. We all know that Al was a fan of Kaepernick, and then he passed away before all of the causes came up, all the things that Colin was protesting for and the things he was trying to promote. And there's something about Al Davis that's very unique in the way that he handled his players, is that he was willing to give them a voice. And I think that what was also unique, not only was he willing to give them a voice and give them a platform, but he was also willing to help them craft that. And he was a mentor to so many of his players, on and off the field, that I think it would have been a good fit. I think Kaepernick and Al Davis would have been a good fit. Now, Kaepernick and this kind of loosey-goosey approach that Jack Del Rio and the other leaders of our team have taken, I'm not so sure. I'm kind of, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm not even necessarily a Jerry Jones fan, but I like the investment that he has in his players and his willingness, for good or bad, depending on what player you're talking about and when, his investment in them and to help them with their public showing, right? Like their messaging, whatever it is, their PR essentially, right? Their public relations, their marketing of themselves. That's what Jerry Jones does well with his players, and that's what Al did. And I think that Al would have done well with Kaepernick, but not now. I don't think it's a good fit now. I think it's way too there's too many off the field issues, as I mentioned, that the Raiders don't have that maturity to be able to compartmentalize that stuff to begin with. And here's the last thing. Carr's only going to be out for like 2 weeks, okay? This is not like the guy's not coming back or he might make back for the playoffs or whatever. The guy's going to be out a couple weeks and then he's coming back. This injury that he has is strictly a pain threshold type situation. This isn't structural. He's not going to be at risk of any further injury. It is, when you look at it, Tony Romo has had it. Cam Newton has had it. Both those guys came back after 2 weeks. It is purely has to do with how much he can take, how comfortable he is to get back out there. If we know one thing about Derek Carr, he's a tough man, right? He will get himself back out there. He'll be ready to play. We don't need Kaepernick. By the time Kaepernick got familiar enough with the offense to be effective, we wouldn't need him anymore. I think we're just fine with EJ Manuel, as we've already seen, even with just that small piece that we've seen him play. He's got the capability. He knows the offense well enough. Carr's coming back. We don't need to worry about calling Kaepernick. Now, the Titans, on the other hand, that one probably would have made a little more sense. Instead, they signed Brandon Weeden. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't see it, and it's not a matter of anything other than McKenzie's not looking to pay Derek Carr $26 million to sit on the bench. Tony Romo came back from his back injury within 1 week. Perhaps that's why he's sitting in the booth right now, though. So I'm not looking to see Derek Carr come back anytime sooner than he needs to. That said, I got faith in EJ Manuel based on his performance against Denver and based on his performance against one of the top-rated defenses in the league. And we'll touch on that more here in a bit once we jump into our Affable Take Tuesday segment, Murph. All right, once again, thank you to all 8 voicemails from the Sea of Fans mailbag. I think that was the most ever, so I appreciate all you guys from calling in from all across the country. That's pretty awesome, Murph. This week I looked at our show stats there, and Murph, we were in 21 different countries around the world. Pretty cool. I bet Murf
pretty cool.
I bet
man.
Murf couldn't even name 21 countries around the world.
I could not. I probably could get you about 10 or so. But how cool is it on the week also that we've probably we've been heard in the most countries. We also were heard intergalactically by having Jose Hernandez on, which was such a fun interview, right?
Pretty cool.
So pretty cool. Hey, real quick too, before we get too far, tune in to next week's show. We have a really cool interview Sonny and I do have coming up with the author of the new Al Davis biography that's out there called Behind the Raiders Shield. No interview this week, but look for us next week. We are going to have John Kingdon. He's one of the 3 guys that were the contributors to the book, worked a long time for the Raiders, and was a confidant of Al Davis. So that should be a really, really cool interview. Look for that next Tuesday, again, because we don't have an interview set for this week.
Murph, if I told you the Raiders just lost to the Broncos 16-10 at their stadium and you didn't watch the game, what would your thoughts be?
I would say, okay, did we have a chance to win it late? Were we in a position to win the game? And other than that, that's not the worst loss in the world. Yes, you want to win in the division. That's the biggest games to win, and especially that one considering the hot start of the Kansas City Chiefs. But all things said, winning in Denver is not an easy task. And frankly, going into the season, I didn't have an expectation, at least not like a slam dunk, that we were going to go win in Denver and win in Kansas City, because we just had, those are just tough games. I figured the Raiders at 12-4, and those were 2 of them.
That's the problem, though, Murph, is looking at the stat of simply the game, of the score being 16-10, and knowing that the Raiders had a chance to win late. They're within 1 score in the fourth quarter, which is generally what every coach will hope for, that you're within the game, you're within striking distance late in the game, and that's what you want for your team. The problem, though, Murph, is we watched the game. And when you watch the game, it felt like the lead was 3 or 4 touchdowns. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. We rehashed it a lot on the Raiders Retort on Sunday, but I kind of started thinking about this the last couple days. Some people state there's no such thing as a bad win, right? Like, it doesn't matter how you get the W, 1 point, 5 points, 10 points, whatever. All that matters is that you get the W. So there's no such thing as a bad win. Well, if that logic is true, which I kind of subscribe to a certain degree, then the reverse is true. There's no such thing as a good loss, because a loss is a loss. An L is an L, and that's it. And I think what I'm kind of growing tired of over the last couple of days is the Pollyanna response to the Raiders right now. Now, I'm not saying don't be hopeful and don't have hope and all that kind of stuff, but there's some problems within the organization. There's some problems with the team. There's problems on both sides of the ball. There's problems with communication from offensive coordinator to quarterback. And there's some issues that from what we can tell, aren't being worked out. The Redskins game, we hoped was an anomaly. We hoped that was just a bad game, bad setting, bad circumstances, whatever. Fool me once, that's okay. But now this is twice. And again, you have to look inside the numbers. You have to look inside the numbers to get the true kind of idea of what happened against Denver. And here's a couple of those numbers. 3rd down efficiency, Murph, 2 for 12. Ugh. 2 for 12 on.
Were those both? Were those both
down.
Manual? Did he get both those in the same drive in the fourth quarter? Like, probably, right?
Here's the other one. Here's the other stat that jumps out at me. So there's 2 stats that jumped out at me: 3rd down efficiency, and the other one is yards per rush. 1.6. 1.6 yards per rush, with one of the biggest and most physicalist offensive lines in the league, and one Marshawn Lynch, who was supposed to be the guy we were going to ride all the way to the Super Bowl. The Raiders have some issues. Now, that being said, this is Affable Take Tuesday, so we're not going to get too crazy here. The Denver Broncos, again, hatred aside, Uncle Mark, a.k.a. the Raider hater, which, by the way, you can't name yourself.
No self-gloss.
Yeah, no self-gloss. The Denver Broncos have the best defense in the league. Not only the no-fly zone, but their running defense is stout too.
Yeah.
So again, you take this loss in stride. We're 2-2. The first 3 of the 4 games were on the road. Not to mention the last 3 of the 4 games are going to be on the road as well. And we have to go down to Mexico City. So it's like the schedule. I forget which guy who called in earlier, but he said the Raiders have the toughest schedule in the league. Yeah, they do, by a lot. When you can factor in travel time, when you factor in only 7 home games, and when you factor in 3 of the 4 first and 3 of the 4 last are all on the road. This isn't going to be an easy season for the Raiders, and I think what I'm coming to terms with as a Raiders fan is I had these super, super high hopes coming into the season, and now I have to throttle that back and saying, man, I hope we win the AFC West. And at this point, 4 games in the season, we're 1/4 of the way into the season. I think it's safe to say that the Raiders are the 3rd best team in the AFC West. Now, whoa, Wilbur, don't turn off the podcast just yet. Listen to the objective point of view here. The Chiefs are undefeated. The Chiefs just beat the Redskins, the team that made us look like a Pop Warner football team. The Chiefs beat them. The Broncos beat us on their turf. So at this point of the game, with the Chiefs undefeated and the Broncos owning us this year 1-0 so far, there is no way you can objectively state that the Raiders have the inside edge to win the AFC West anymore. When everything was 0-0 and all the hype was there, sure. But as of right now, 1/4 of the way through the regular season, with the Chiefs undefeated and the Broncos hold a 1-0 lead against us in the division, the Raiders are the 3rd best team in the AFC West.
It's pretty disheartening. I mean, you don't want to overreact to a 2-2 record, but 2-2 equals 8-8, right? When you extrapolate it out, and when you look at our schedule, like you mentioned, it doesn't get any easier. And while the Ravens and the next 2 are very winnable games, the next 2 after that are the Chiefs, and then you have the Bills, which the Bills, are playing way better than anybody expected them. I think those are they so far, and probably the Rams are the 2 biggest surprises of the NFL season. It seems like every year we get surprise teams, and those are the 2, and we have to play at Orchard Park, which is not going to be an easy game. And then you have the Dolphins, which is, that's probably a very winnable game. And then after that, you go Patriots, Broncos back to back. And then so there's another 2 more super challenging games. Then the Giants, they seem to be laying down this year. We got them at home. I don't think that's too tall of an order. But then you go Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, and Chiefs for the next 3 after that. I mean, those are all 3 tall orders. And then to finish out the Chargers on the road, which, the Chargers at that funky little stadium they got down there in LA, we know what that's going to look like. It's going to be a sea of silver and black, and which will be essentially another home game for the Raiders. But this is not getting any easier. And frankly, there are teams on the schedule like the Bills that are coming up that we expected to kind of be a pretty good look for the Raiders to pull a W. Now all of a sudden we're looking at that game going, ooh, that's a tough game. And maybe maybe we look at the Giants game now and we say, oh, that's going to be easier than what we maybe expected it, because I think we all expected the Giants to have a pretty high-powered offense this year, which they're sputtering. But anyway, my point is, though, is that all things said, I think there's definitely a reason to be concerned. And I think that the things that we talked about preseason, while, maybe we even accused ourselves of overreacting. And we talked to a lot of our Raider Nation friends, people that are in the media and other folks that do podcasts and whatnot. And we kind of had our conversations about, is linebacker really that big of a deal? Or, are we freaking out about it unnecessarily? Did we really effectively address the right tackle spot? Whatever it may be. Well, all those things are all coming true. Like, yes, there are some nice surprises in there. There are some good things that have happened. But man, there's also a lot of things that have really reared their ugly head. And frankly, the toughest part, again, to go back to, is that our expectations, we expected our offensive line to be one of the most dominant in the NFL, and they're not. They're a far cry from it. Why? We expected Todd Downing to be an absolute rock star offensive coordinator. He's not. Why? Those are the things that I think are most disappointing for us, and they don't have it figured out. The thing with issues with Carr. I mean, who expected Derek Carr to have a rough year? Despite the injury, just before that, as Flattery mentioned.
That one guy on Twitter who's been hating Carr ever since he came in the league.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? So he's finally got his day, right?
Yeah.
But
Told you.
I'm with you. I feel a little more affable now too than when we did our show, the Raider Retort, which we're doing post games on Sundays or at least Sunday nights. So y'all check us out there on Facebook Live. You can go to our Facebook page, Raiders Fan Radio, and see it there. We were pretty fired up then, coming fresh off of that loss against the Broncos, and so I'm a little calmed down as far as my excitement or my excitability, whatever, but. Still, though, I'm still pretty disheartened. And I think that's the worst part is that you just feel like, gosh, bless it. Like, it's just to lose 16-10 on the road in Denver is not the end of the world, but the way that it went down, that's the stuff that it's just like, come on, man. Like, really? Like, if we're only running the ball at 1.6 yard average per carry, well, why? Well, because they're stacking the box. Okay. Well, then why aren't we taking advantage of that and throwing that? We got a billion weapons on offense to throw the football to, and we're not? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, one has to be one or the other, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's definitely funky. Here's the good news. Let's focus on the positive. Let's try to look at the silver and black lining. We got the Ravens on deck next, and we're in Oakland. Like, come on now. We should be able to win this football game. And we'll give you 3 reasons here why in a minute.
I think that's the excuse me. The other thing too is say Cook catches the one of those 2 passes he drops in the end zone, and we end up winning this game. Carr still gets hurt. EJ still looks better than Carr. So say we win the game in Denver, we still walk away with the conversation now being, is EJ the guy? Is something wrong with Carr? Carr's hurt, and we still can't run the ball to save our lives. So if we win the game and go 3-1 instead of 2-2, yeah, it's a little better, but we still have these conversations and these question marks around the team. Why is the offense sputtering? Why can't we run the football? Is there a quarterback controversy, right? And people were already touting the quarterback controversy before we found out Carr got injured. And then Carr gets injured, and now what's going to happen if EJ comes in there, goes 2-0, and then Carr comes back, Again, I don't think Reggie for a second is going to put Carr on the bench, but a bunch of people in Raider fandom land are going to be crying for EJ and stuff like that, right?
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah, they will. And do you want to talk about nightmare scenarios for the team? And this will be the most bittersweet thing in the world because I would love, just like you would and everybody else in Raider Nation would love nothing more than to see them go 3-0.
With EJ at the quarterback,
the next
right? Yeah,
watch them go 3-0 with EJ at quarterback. And then when you get a healthy Derek Carr. You want to talk about a conversation we're going to be having? Holy crap, dude. We're not going to know what to do with ourselves if he goes 3-0, man. And I hope he does.
Yeah.
If Carr doesn't come back for
I'm
the
the
next
biggest
year,
EJ
I hope he
supporter
does.
around,
But
man. I'm a big EJ supporter.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's going to get crazy if the Raiders start winning some football games with EJ Manuel. And again, we hope.
But here's the thing that just stinks about it. And I know we're probably sacking a little hard here and stuff like that, but this is what we do. This is our podcast. We're going to vent. We can't do it on episode 50. That's got to be a special one. That's next week. Coming into the season, did you ever expect there to be a quarterback controversy, Carr being injured, and Marshawn Lynch not running the ball, and Derek Carr getting sacked a lot? Like that was the furthest thing from your mind, right? And I think that's what's crazy is all 3 of those things, maybe not the injury, because Carr got injured last year. So you had some question in your mind of, is he healthy? Is he going to, recover fully? All that stuff. So maybe that wasn't so much of a shock. But here's the 3 things that shocked me. Not running the football, not protecting Carr or Carr getting sacked is actually the more accurate quote according to PFF and according to the stats where the Raiders are giving up the least amount of protections. Yeah. But Carr getting sacked a lot, not being able to run the football, and then now there's a quarterback controversy. All three of those things weren't even on the radar preseason, weren't even on the radar in the offseason. Those were they didn't even scratch the surface of the most craziest.
Week 2,
yeah,
they weren't on. They weren't on the radar the week before the week leading up to the Redskins game. Frankly.
And for those three things now to be front and center issues, it's like, what? I feel like I was like engaged and like planning my wedding, and then all of a sudden, she's gone. I'm just like, what?
You're at the left
right?
At the altar.
I'm just like, what? What the heck is happening? And I think that's it. Like that's what has me so like confused. And it's not so much that like I've lost faith and I think they suck and all that. Like it's not that at all. Like they're really still a good football team. I'm just confused. Like who
that's a good way to put it.
The 2017 Oakland Raiders. Like 2016, they were the gambling Raiders, man. They were the comeback kids, right? They were the great story of the NFL, right? They were the Cinderella darlings. Now it's like everybody expected us to continue that and maybe take the more dominant approach. But then it's like, huh? Who are we? And for me, moving forward over this next 4-game stretch that I think ends with the Chiefs, right? It's Ravens,
Chargers, Chiefs, yeah,
and then Bills right after that, or what?
Yes.
You sure it's that? Bills. I think it's the other way around.
It's Ravens, Chargers, Chiefs, and then Bills. Yeah.
So this next 4 games, this is going to be a telling time for the Raiders. We're going to learn a lot about who this team is, and I mean, dude, with or without EJ at quarterback, we're going to learn who this team is.
Yeah. How about the fact that EJ Manuel could be returning to Buffalo? Like, do you want to talk about storyline?
Yeah.
I say they go 3-0. EJ goes 3-0 as the starter. Carr comes back healthy for the Bills game, but EJ has a chance to start for the team that he's led to, as a starter, undefeated over his starts, back in Buffalo, the team that let him go.
Be cool story.
I mean, holy crap, dude. I mean, it's craziness. This is going to be very, hey, look, the NFL always is. This is why we love it, because just when you think you got it figured out, things change. Just when you think that what was the one of the biggest stories of the preseason and the postseason, or excuse me, the offseason this year was the Patriots. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. They've reloaded. Did they even reload because they were loaded to begin with? And blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden their defense sucks. You know what I mean? Like, we heard about how they were going to, why even play the games? Just give Tom number 6. Just give it to him so he can put it on the other hand. But no, they're fighting too. They're struggling too. It happens all the time in the NFL. So what we got to do is that it's a game of adjustments, and our coaches and everybody else involved needs to adjust. And, hopefully we'll be okay. I think we will. Long term, I think we're going to be fine. This is the time in a team's life where this is where you build that fortitude. This is where you build that resilience. This is where you get your character tested, right? We're not defined by our mistakes, right? We're defined by what we do in response to them. How do we react? What do we do? Do we just lay down? Do you just give up? Do you just pack it in? Do you just, are you defeated mentally? What are you going to do about it? You're already 2-2. You can't do anything about it. You can only focus on the next one up. And, I think they're going to be fine. I think that they have that in them. They just haven't quite tapped into that yet this year, but it's coming. I'm fully confident of that.
I hope you're right, Murf. I hope you're right.
Hey, so this is Uncle Mosh, and apparently all you got to do to host a podcast is have a microphone, a garage, and a couple of Derek Carr jerseys. Ha! These two did it. You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Sonny and Murf.
All right, Murf. Our good friends at the RaiderRamble.com. They write quality articles for quality people. That should be their tagline. Mario, if you're listening, RaiderRamble.com.
You got that one for free, Mario.
Quality articles for quality people. Philip with 1L, Philip Robertson III, wrote an article this week entitled, Where Does the Offense Go From Here? A.K.A. All Eyes on Todd Downing. Where does the offense go from here? All eyes on Todd Downing. And this is one of his quotes. A professional offense in the NFL, which was widely considered to be elite and challenged for the best unit in the league, has been anything but. Let me repeat that. A professional offense in the NFL, which was widely considered to be elite and challenged for the best unit in the league, has been anything but. The first two games, decent showing. Last two games, not so much. In Philip's article on the RaiderRamble.com, he goes on to state, Jamazing to the rescue. This is the Jamaze, although episode number 49. He actually showed up this last game, right? And so now the question is, now we get to move on to the Ravens. The offense is in question. The defense, they're okay. Cooper's dropping every freaking pass thrown to him. Todd Downing was supposed to be this guru. He's not letting Carr check out of plays. We can't run the football. But EJ, like Phillips says, isn't no scrub. He's not a scrub. He showed us. He was 11 for 17, over 100 yards. But all eyes are on Todd Downing as we move forward, I think. And so as we get ready to face the Ravens, Murph, and we do our 3 reasons segment, I think it's interesting to look at, is the offense going to bounce back against the Ravens unit that their defense as a whole is awful. Like they're like dead last or close to dead last in, I think, points given up or points scored, and then in defensive pass yards given up, and then all total pass yards or total defensive yards given up. So let's go into our 3 reasons segment. Murph, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
No, you go first. That way the Raiders go last. It's your turn in the barrel this week, Sonny, and you get the enjoyable task of floating out there 3 convincing reasons why the Baltimore Ravens could possibly have a chance to win the game this week.
Do we have theme music for that yet? We need to get some theme music for 3.
No, I got to come up with something. Good. I'll come up. I'll make a note here.
Tell Uncle the Raider hater to stop doing voicemail rants and come up with some 3 reasons segment music and stuff.
Okay, deal.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with this segment here, we give 3 reasons why each team that, the Raiders and their opponent essentially can win the game. Now for the Raiders, we say the 3 reasons that will help the Raiders win, and for the opponent, we say the 3 reasons that could help the opponent win the game. Because we all know the Raiders are going to win every game here on out, right, Murph? 14-2. Let's go, baby.
That's it. Undefeated. Rest of the way out.
Undefeated. So here we go. The 3 reasons why the Raiders are going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. So I start with why the Ravens are going to beat the Raiders here. I'm all screwed up, Murph. I don't like talking about
You're
how
a mess.
I know.
Talk
about
Tell
the
me
Ravens,
about it.
How the Ravens
I
are
know.
going to beat my
try with the
team?
Broncos that you stuck me with last week because of timing.
Yeah, but I checked it out. I have to do the Chiefs twice.
Yes.
You have to do the Chargers twice, so you get your payback. So
man.
it kind of stinks.
Yeah,
okay, here is one reason why the Ravens could beat the Raiders. Injuries. Crabtree was out against the Broncos. Conley was out. Apparently now he really does have shin problems. We all know what happened in the offseason, but apparently now he really does have some shin problems. McGill was out. But here are the top 2 reasons why I think, or the top A and B of my number 1 reason. Emerson's out and Carr is out. Say what you want about EJ. There was a reason he was cast off from Buffalo. I hope he can win. I hope he does great. But there's a reason he was the backup quarterback. As bad as we all think Carr was playing, there was a reason EJ was the backup, and that's just that. And you can't argue that. There was a reason for that. and now he has a shot. Now he has a chance. Now teams can prepare for him. As we all know, the NFL is about matchups, and the Broncos were honed in on Carr's tendencies. Maybe EJ caught him a little off guard when he went 8 for 8 when he first came out. Now the Ravens will have a full week to prepare for EJ. Let's see what EJ does when the spotlight is on him. Is he better than McGloin? Is he better than Cook? We're going to find out in about 5 days, Murph. On top of that, Emerson's out. And Conley. Emerson went out, I don't know when. What was it, like first, second quarter, or was it third quarter? I forget when Emerson went out against the Broncos. But he's clearly one of our top 2 cornerbacks. So if we go into this game against the Ravens without Conley and Emerson, so Carey is our number 1, that worries me, Murph. So the
Are you
Raiders,
talking about Travis Johansson Carey?
No. Travis James Carey.
Ah, I see.
So I'm a little worried that the injuries are starting to rack up, and potentially the Ravens could sneak away with the win. Don't curse me. Don't curse me, Raider Nation. But that could be a big reason that helps the Ravens beat the Raiders this Sunday.
Well, I agree with you. Those injuries are no friend to our team right now, and especially when you're talking about in the secondary where we're already thin. Okay, my number 1 reason, though, is something that we've talked a couple times about. Let me back up. We've talked about already tonight one of the things that the Raiders need to get going as a whole, and especially this week when you talk about going up against a weak defense, and that is Todd Downing. This is an opportunity. My number 1 reason why the Raiders are going to win this week is that Todd Downing is going to loosen up a little bit. Remember, being an offensive coordinator is not always about X's and O's. It's about getting your players in the best position possible for them to be successful. You know, it's not about shoehorning your team into your scheme. It's about developing a scheme that utilizes the talent that you have available to you. Well, now Todd knows what he's got available to him. He's got E.J. Manuel, he's got Marshawn Lynch, and he's got a litany of other players on offense that are capable of making plays. I don't think that the Cooper drop thing is something that's going to be long-lived. I pray that it's not only for us as fans, but for him personally. You would hate to see that happen to guys that are that gifted, to see something goofy like that derail them. So hopefully that's something we come out of, and hopefully this is the week where Todd Downing shows off that creativity that we all expected to see from him. He shows off that talent to get guys in position. He shows off that talent. Why people love him, why players love him, is because he gives them an opportunity to showcase what they're best at. That's what we're going to see against a absolutely beat down Ravens defense. So, you know, it's one thing to go up against the Broncos, who you mentioned earlier, have one of the best, if not the best defense in football. Now we're talking about going the complete opposite direction and playing, you know, a bunch of chumps, a la like the New York Jets. And hopefully this offense gets it rolling this week.
Okay. It was a struggle to find 3 reasons why the Ravens could beat the Raiders. The Ravens are 2-2, though. The Raiders are 2-2. Yeah. So, you know, the Ravens don't have much going for them. But they do have a guy by the name, let's see, what's his name here? Did I get it? Alex Collins is a running back for the Ravens. He's a short little dude, 5'10", 210. Ding, ding, Dan Patrick. 5'10", 210. He's pieced together some nice runs, though, Murph. He has a couple games where he only had 9 carries, but he racked up 82 yards. And against Cleveland, he had 7 carries for 42 yards. His lowest average carry for the season for a game was 6 yards a carry. On the year, I believe he's averaging well over 7 yards a carry. No, 6 yards a carry. Let's see. Sorry, I got them all confused here. I think he's averaging 6 yards a carry. No, 8 yards a carry. I'm sorry.
What is it, man? Figure it out.
My bad. 8 yards a carry against our running game. Our defense has been, dare to say, the lone bright spot of the year so far. Yeah. Besides those first couple of games, if this guy gets rolling and we don't have a running game, that's a big issue, I think. If the Ravens can run the ball effectively with this guy named Alex Collins, who's averaging 8.2 yards per carry, that's going to be an issue.
Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, I just pulled it out. That's going to be an issue. Now, obviously, anybody, if you establish a running game, great. But this guy has been able to put up some pretty big numbers. Now, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he's racked up 206 yards in only 3 games and with limited carries. So they could turn him loose against the Raiders, and we'll see what happens. That could be interesting.
Well, you mentioned the Raiders' ability to run the football and the impact that will have counter to what the Ravens are going to do running the football, and that leads to my second reason why the Raiders will win this football game. I refuse to accept that our offensive line of the last 2 weeks is the offensive line that we are going to have for the rest of the year. And the reason I say that is that we have seen crystal clear evidence that they have all of the physical talent and all of the scheme available to them to be the best in the league. We've seen them do it against some pretty darn good teams all over last year. And so far, even in this year, I know that the Titans front seven and the Jets front seven aren't all world beaters there, but there are some very talented players like Brian Arakpo, Leonard Williams, right? There's some good players on those defenses, and our offensive line did a really nice job. I also know that Austin Howard is not nearly the player that Marshall Newhouse is. That was an upgrade for us. And when you look at the other 4 guys on the line, plus Marshall Newhouse, I just refuse to believe that they're that bad as what they were these last 2 weeks. So not only are they going to get better in protection, and whether that's EJ Manuel the first or the next couple of weeks, and then eventually Carr, or whoever it is, doesn't matter, in pass protection, but they've got to be better running the football. They've got to get that big push up front. They are big, mean, strong dudes, and they have a power back there in Marshawn, and I've got to think that it's going to get going this week. We needed Marshawn and the running game. I'm not going to pin it all on Marshawn. I'm just going to say the running game. We needed the running game to win on the road in Denver. It was non-existent. That, again, as much as we needed it, we talked about it going into that game, the running game would fix a lot of the issues that the Raiders are having. It would keep the defense from getting in funky positions. Heck, Sonny, the defense allowed 16 points and the offense put them in funky spots. How many times? Like, if they were able to run the football, they would have not have put the pressure on the defense that they were actually even able to respond to. So I think that running the football is going to be crucial. They're going to be back at home, back in Oakland. You know, one of our callers mentioned it earlier in the show. If he's the savior of Oakland, well, now's the time to show it. You got to show it. Let's get another game, another strong performance. Let's get, I'm not going to say let's go back to dancing on the sideline because that, that was so cool in the moment. I would hate to see them try to replicate it because it might, actually tarnish the spontaneity of the original time it happened. But you get my point, though. Let's get fired up, though. Let's go in there. Let's kick their ass. Let's get the ball moving on the ground, and let's get a little excitement back to that sideline and back to this football team.
I agree, and I think it's confusing because is it the Raiders' offensive line? You read conflicting things that make you question it. The common sense would say we can't run the ball. Carr's getting sacked a lot. Must be offensive line problems. But when you dive into it, it's not. Like, the Raiders are giving up the least amount of pressures in the whole entire league. Yet we're giving up the most sacks per pressure, right? And so their offensive line's not really playing that bad. And at the same time, I didn't dive into it because I wasn't going to pay the money. Sorry, Ted Wynn. Maybe I will one day. On The Athletic, he wrote an article, I think it was that one, where he talked about how the offensive line's getting a push when we're running the football, but we're not matching with the amount of defenders in the box. We're not adjusting. And then you read that Greg Papa states he heard that, Todd Downing wasn't going to let Carr check out of formations against Denver because he wanted the plays run faster. So then you look at all of these things together,
but doesn't that doesn't that completely work against what we heard in the offseason? Wasn't one of the big selling points of Todd Downing is that, him and Carr are on the same page. They're like brothers. He's going to go out there and he's going to have the ability to make all these changes at the line of scrimmage. And because that's what great quarterbacks do. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Look at Ben Roethlisberger. Look at Tom Brady. They're able to, they have, Drew Brees. They have all this lateral ability at the line of scrimmage to make all these changes. And now we're hearing he's not allowed to? Wait a minute.
It does. That's
backwards, man.
That's part of the frustration, I think, Murph. And that's, again, we heard all this stuff preseason, and yet the regular season's giving us a different story. So you hear of the offensive line not giving up a lot of pressures, but we're still getting a lot of sacks. We hear the offensive line's getting a great push, running the ball, but yet Marshall and Lynch can't get it going. He averages 1.6 yards against the Broncos. You hear about Todd Downing limiting Derek Carr's ability to change. And it's just like you're left just going, what is going on?
What
here?
Is it? Yeah. Then what is
it? That's what you're left wondering. And I think that's the biggest frustration. That's even more frustrating than knowing what it is, right? Like if we knew it was the right tackle or whatever on the offensive line, if we knew it was Derek Carr, then that's one. Then you know. But I think the unknown, living in this question mark, living in this, where's the team I was promised? Where's the team I was that was told? You guys told me about was going to be here. That's the frustrating part. And I agree with you. If we don't learn to run the ball, we're screwed, man. You can't win not running the football. And so, the Ravens is a great team to do it against too, right? They're not very good on the run the defense. All right. My third reason why I feel, well, I don't really, but just for the segment purposes, the third reason why, the clock is, a dead clock is right twice in one day, right? Isn't that what they say?
There you go.
The third reason why the potential thing could happen, the Ravens potentially could beat the Raiders, is A.J. Derby, Murph. Oh, but wait. A.J. Derby doesn't even play for the Ravens, Murph. Do you know who A.J. Derby plays for?
I do now. Remember that whole talk we had about how these players come out of nowhere, like Olandis Gary and C.J. Anderson and Jamal Charles and the people that just crushed the Raiders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Curtis Martin. I don't know. I mean, there's a million of them. Yeah, now we can add A.J. Derby to that list because he plays for the stinking Broncos, and all of a sudden he was freaking Wes Welker reincarnated. Unbelievable.
Oh, but do you know what position he plays, Murph?
Wide receiver.
False. Tight end.
What? You talking about 83 for the Broncos?
A.J. Derby is listed as a tight end for the Broncos.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Oh, well. Wow. Color me correct then. I had no idea, and I'll bet you I would at least hope that most of Raider Nation doesn't know that either. Otherwise, I'm just a big idiot.
And he had four.
Probably true.
I don't think very many of us realized that he was a tight end. I thought he was like a wide receiver. He looked like a wide receiver playing against us. 4 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 18.8 yards a catch. And didn't it just seem like whenever the Donkeys did something great, he was involved, right?
He was involved. Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say the Raiders have not solved their opposing tight end woes, if you will. Do you know who the Ravens have at tight end, Murph?
No, I probably should. It's not like Ed Dixon or anything. It's not Todd Heap anymore. Who is it?
It's a good man by the name of...
Go ahead. I know it is. Go ahead.
Benjamin Watson.
Yes. I knew that.
Benjamin Watson, good man off the field, stands up for what he believes in. Got to respect a guy like that. On the year, has 16 catches on 18 targets. That's pretty good, right? He doesn't drop a lot. 146 yards, averaging 9.1 yards per carry, 1 touchdown on the year. But again, until we do it and do it consistently and do it for a good length of time, the Raiders still struggle against the tight end, as evidenced by the most recent game where A.J. freaking Derby beat us, man. Just made us look like chumps on defense. Now, granted, we got injuries, but that's what I said in my first point. We got injuries. And Benjamin Watson, I want to say, is a lot better than stupid A.J. Derby. Now, granted, Major Watson's a little bit old, but he's still a tight end. He's still a good tight end, and I don't know if we're going to be able to stop him if he gets going.
Well, I hope you're wrong, and I know you hope as well, and that is going to dovetail nicely into my third reason why the Oakland Raiders are going to win this football game, and that is defense. I thought that, if anything, it was kind of a pleasant surprise that the defense came out the way that they did against the Broncos. It's a tough place to play. That's one of the toughest road games, especially, you get backed up in some of those end zones, man. And even Tony Romo mentioned it in the broadcast that this is one of the most toughest places to, on a quarterback and a place to go in and play. And so the fact that the defense kind of showed up when they did, I think is encouraging. Yes, they could have been better, but I think that when you consider what the offense did to them, and especially special teams wise and giving them short fields, the defense wasn't too bad. So ultimately, we all came into this season expecting to see some great things from a coordinator, and the wrong one showed up. So Ken Norton Jr., we ragged him pretty good. We gave Ken Norton Jr. a pretty rough time and talked a lot about the John Pagano effect and having somebody look over your shoulder, and he was going to be on a short leash. And, if the defense fell down early, then, what they were going to, well, look, the defense has done okay and they've been beat up. So I'm going to ride or die with Ken Norton this week. I think that he's going to continue to do what exactly that I just talked a minute ago, that hoping that Todd Downing would do. We are going to see Ken Norton put players in the best position possible to be successful. It is not better evident than what he's doing with Carl Joseph and getting that guy moving, getting him in the blitzes. Reggie Nelson had one. That ball that Reggie Nelson tipped up on that blitz almost picked that darn thing off. One of the guys did. That was nice. It was nice. I gotta give him props, man. He's getting guys in good positions, and that's what you gotta have. So hopefully we start getting some players back. Hopefully we start getting guys healthy. Hopefully we start seeing the Eddie Vander Does of the first couple weeks maybe show up again against a questionable Ravens offensive line. So I'm gonna give it to the defense. The defense is one of the reasons we're gonna win this game, and I think that Ken Norton Jr. deserves the props on how well they've played so far, and especially if they lock up the Ravens this week.
Murph, let's hope you're right. Let's hope the Raiders right the ship. Let's hope they write it in a statement kind of way. Let's hope we shut down a dismal Ravens offense. Let's hope we light up a Ravens defense. And for all intents and purposes, let's hope EJ lights up the stats so we can have a controversy, because that'll mean EJ's playing great. And we won the game. So let's hope, let's pray it happens, and let's venture into Murph's black hole of the internet.
DeadPiratesSports.com. Raider gear for our Raider Nation family. Huge selection of affordable, authentic Raider items and custom gear. Coolers, baby items. That's right, train them early, train them right. Baby items. Barbecue accessories. Who don't like barbecue? You know who don't like barbecue? 49er fans don't like barbecue because you can't barbecue alfalfa sprouts. Books, caftans. And as soon as we figure out what you do with the caftan, we'll let you know. Candles, flags, glasses, earrings, floor mats, hats, jerseys, kimonos, ponchos, helmets, cups, pendants, pet clothes, mugs, socks. Raiders socks. I got Raiders socks. Get you some Raiders socks. Temporary tattoos, tote bags, wall clocks, and towels. That's right, towels. You know why? Because we got an inbred cousin. I don't know if he's really in the family or not, but he's a Bronco fan, and he can dry his little red-headed tears. So check out DeadPiratesSports.com. Let them know you heard about him on Raiders Fan Radio, and find all the Raider gear you could possibly want. That's DeadPiratesSports.com. Raider gear for our Raider Nation family. By Raiders fans, for Raiders fans, the only fans that matter.
Sonny, we'd like to thank the folks at Dead Pirate Sports for their continuing support of Raiders Fan Radio. And you know what we always forget to mention on their show is that you can go to the website and you can enter in promo code RFR10 and get 10% off of any order at Dead Pirate Sports. So check them out, deadpiratesports.com. All right, Sonny. So this week for the internet black hole of the internet that we like to cover, of course, when the quarterback gets hurt and the backup quarterback comes in, Sonny, who do you think of?
One, James Plunkett.
Of course. As Raider fans, we think of Jim Plunkett coming in and saving the day after the Oakland Raiders starting quarterback Dan Pastorini went down in the 1980 season, and Plunkett led us to a Super Bowl victory. So I knew we were going to have a little bit of frustration. I knew we were all going to be a little bit downtrodden this week. And so to uplift our spirits, I thought we would get in to the Wayback Machine, dive into the black hole of the internet, and talk about one of the most positive things that has ever happened in the Oakland Raider Nation.
Murf's Black Hole of the Internet.
A journey that begins where everything ends.
So, Sonny, as we roll back the clock and look at the year 1980, talked a lot about how big of fans we are for John Facenda and the job that he's done on NFL films. God rest his soul. The man has just got dulcet tones, man, when it comes to doing voiceover work. And the stuff that he did in particular in relation to the Raiders was just some of the best Oakland Raider produced material in history. So we're gonna go and dive into a little bit of John Facenda. And here's where we're gonna really get black hole the internet, is that not only are we gonna talk about what Plunkett did in that 1980 season, but then I found something really kind of special here at the end. So we're going to listen to a handful of these clips from the 80 season, and then we're going to find something. We're going to listen to something real special that John Facenda did. So we go back to 1980. We're coming off of Kenny Stabler and Al Davis kind of disputing a contract. Stabler gets jettisoned to the Houston Oilers. In comes Dan Pastorini, right? The golden boy. He's going to come in. He's going to pick up right where Stabler left off. And sure enough, here early in the season, Pastorini goes down.
Tom Flores and superior offensive assistants faced problems after 2 more losses. Dan Pastorini was sidelined with a broken leg, and field leadership passed to Jim Plunkett as the Raiders, now 2-3, face the first-place Chargers in Week 6. Number 30, Mark Van Egan and speedster Cliff Branch, veterans of Raider teams judged among history's best, joined in a scoring avalanche.
So Plunkett will try to get him rolling from the 11. Hand off to King, outside left tackle into the secondary, takes off the 15, the 20, it's a foot race for the 30. Here comes Shaw, 40, 50. Shaw gets a piece of it, misses at the 30, to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo!
The 89-yard run, longest in Raider history, pressured the Chargers, as did 3 sacks by Willie Jones, and a defense playing with controlled fury, led by Millen, Browning, Matuzak, and Ted Hendricks, number 83. The Raiders continually defying great odds to become pro football's winningest team, thundered toward a record 16th consecutive winning season.
So there's some fun things that come into play here. The timing of everything starts to be unique. The timing of this, the Raiders were 2-3 on the year. They were playing the Chargers. They were playing the Chiefs. It was a lot of the eerily similar things started to show up. Also on their schedule was the defending Super Bowl champions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, much like our upcoming game against the defending champion New England Patriots. And this was a Monday Night Football. Pretty cool stuff right here.
From Pittsburgh, a nationwide Monday night audience saw the fierce Raiders rack up 5 more sacks against the defending world champion Steelers, while Willie Jones and Rod Martin, number 53, turned relentless defense into Oakland points. The powerful front line gave Plunkett time to put the bomb back in the Raider attack as he went deep to Bradshaw, Chandler, and Branch, and pro football's most feared and respected organization stunned Pittsburgh 45-34.
You hear what's starting to happen, Sonny, when you listen to these clips. You hear a lot about the running game. You hear about the defense. You hear about the offensive line giving the quarterback time. All of the things that we need to see happen now to our Raiders, the things that we need to see happen, get going. What do you do to help out your backup quarterback? You run the football. What do you do to help out your quarterback? Or you get stops on defense. You sack the opposing quarterback. All the things that we need to happen to the Raiders now in 2017 were happening for the Raiders in 1980.
Pressure football, not percentage football. As Plunkett, behind Henry Lawrence, Mickey Marvin, and Steve Sylvester, went long to Rich Martini. But the game breaker with blocks by Derek Ramsey, Lindsey Mason, Mario Salato, Todd Christensen, and others was Arthur Whittington's 90-yard kickoff return, ensuring a fifth straight Raider win, 28-17.
So the Raiders go on to win 5 straight, and special teams was a big contributor. Why did we bring in Cordero Patterson? Yes, did we bring him in to add a certain dynamic element to our offense? Of course, but he also was brought in to return kicks. Sonny, we hadn't returned kicks since we talked about it a few shows ago, or not a few shows ago. Back in the offseason, I think it was it like Johnny Lee Higgins or somebody like that was the last time that we had a kick returned back. That's the kind of stuff that we got to have happen. Help out our backup quarterback. Help out E.J. Manuel. We're not going to get into the postseason. It's too long. There's so many great segments that go on about the Raiders and them going on to win the Super Bowl, and it talks about their postseason run. But I wanted to end here with the way that they concluded out the regular season in 1980.
Another must-win in frigid Giant Stadium, where these Raiders, downgraded and criticized by skeptics early on, proved again that second effort is first nature for wearers of the famed silver and black. Turnovers became triumph, 33-17, as the Raiders scored in their 214th consecutive game, clinching a wild card playoff berth. The final touchdown came as an onside kick was alertly turned into 6 points by Derek Jensen. Since 1963, when Al Davis pledged to build the greatest organization in sports, Raider commitment to excellence has earned 9 division championships, an AFL championship, 2 AFC championships, and 2 world championships. Total domination of professional football in terms of consistent victory.
There we go. That was right in the middle of the glory days, right? And it's so good to hear all that stuff. And it's just, to me, I think that, history has a tendency to repeat itself at times. And I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility that our Raiders could get their stuff together. They can rally. That's happened numerous times in the NFL. I almost even put together another black hole. We'll see where it goes with Manuel and with Carr recovering from his injury. But the history of the league is littered with stories about guys that have come in relief of starting quarterbacks and taken their team either all the way to the Super Bowl or came in relief while the starter was getting healthy and led their team on to lots of victories. I think that the Raiders are going to be fine, not just because of what's happened in the past, but I think that we have all the tools in place in the present, and I think that the Raiders are going to be good. But how fun is it to go back and listen to some of those old clips again, visiting our friend John Facenda?
It's beautiful, Murf. Good job on putting that together. Good job on finding the audio, finding a reason to play the audio. And that guy's voice is just pumps you up, right? If that guy and Q-Dog could host their own pregame pump-up show for the Raiders, we would never lose a game the rest of the year, man. Just that guy just speaks with power and poise, and it's pretty cool. I hope the Raiders can mirror that season and do what that Raider team did back then, because that would be pretty cool. And from where we're all at now, from this confused point of who are we to ending like that would be something else.
So real quick, before we move on too far from John, I did find one more clip that I want to play, and it's roundabout Raider related. John Facenda, as you mentioned, his voice is it's amazing, and he's been referred to as having the voice of God, much like Morgan Freeman is nowadays. And he's got some cool things out there. He reads the Nativity, and he was a devout Catholic and stuff. So there's a lot of that type of stuff out there you can hear that John did that was amazing. But also, so knowing that he's Catholic and very, very devout, language, using foul language was not really a part of what John did. Okay. That was not part of his typical day-to-day and his character. But I did find some outtakes of John Facenda doing NFL films. There are some Raider related material in there, one of our players in particular, and you're going to get a big kick out of this.
Now, come on, John. And original Raider. Oh, no, wait a minute. And original Raider. No. I'm trying to figure out your damn writing.
Hawkins, John. Hawkins.
Wayne Harkins. Yeah, I had it then. Wayne Harkins. No, Wayne Harkins. You stupid.
We're ready to go if you are.
Okay.
Okay, John, right from the top and no mistakes. We're rolling.
The Chiefs responded to the Vikings score by returning to the strategy. Oh, now. Middlebacker Don Dan. Oh, shoot.
John, be careful these next names.
Not even the wizardry of Fred Belitnikoff, you bastard name there. Men like Eyeshide and Bueller. Bueller, you son of a bitch. I hope I didn't say that lasty word. Forgive me, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I have sinned before thee and God and everyone.
What the heck?
Is that amazing?
That's the best stuff. Fred Blitnikoff, you bastard name. What the crap, dude?
Bueller, you son of a bitch.
That's good stuff.
Isn't that gold?
That's just funny to I always thought when he talked, he made his voice go like that, but he did it. That was just his voice.
Yeah, just his normal speaking voice.
Yeah, that's just his normal. That's just how he sounds normally, man. That's incredible. That's incredible. That's good stuff, man. Good find. Good find. Well done.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll end this son of a Bueller show. Hopefully, Murf, next week we return to, being a little more jovial with the Raiders' victory of the Ravens.
I know.
I don't think there's a reason we lose to the Ravens. Oh, they're doing a show. I just seen the highlight again of Cook dropping that pass in the end zone. Anyway, this might have been the worst 16-10 loss in the history of the franchise, at least visually. The score was still pretty close, but again, just what? Who is this team? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? What are they going to become? Can we answer some questions this week? Can Marshawn get 50, 100 yards? Can he get a couple touchdowns? Can we establish some dominance again that we thought we were going to have this year, right? I don't want to come on the show next week and be all sad, sacky again. Come on, Raiders. Let's get it together. Play like you were supposed to be. Be the team who we all thought you were, right? Come on, let's get it together. So until then, check us out, RaidersFanRadio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all over there, Raiders Fan Radio. Facebook, me and Murf both have our own accounts. Sonny at Raiders Fan Radio, and then Murf, Raiders Fan Radio, as well as the Raiders Fan Radio page. Next Sunday night, we're going to do episode number 2 of the Raiders Retort, which is our initial response to the game, where, we'll give you some lukewarm takes. Never a hot take, but we like the lukewarm takes once in a while. It's the emotional, immediate response following the game on Sunday. I believe this Sunday, that'll start maybe around 8:30 Pacific time. I still have to convince Murf to stay up that late because he's over there in Central Time. But check that out Sunday via the Facebook page, Raiders Fan Radio page there. And, Murf, anything else before we go?
Please join us on the retort there. There was over 1,000 of you did by the time it was said and done. And so thank you for jumping in with us. And please check us out there. It was a lot of fun. It was cool because it's good. We love to hear from you all. We love the voicemails. We named the show Raiders Fan Radio for a reason. And that's because we want to talk and share our Raiders fandom with the Raiders fans, which is Raider Nation. And so being able to do that on the Facebook show was really cool because it's immediate. It's not just us playing our voicemails and reacting to it. It's being able to read them live and react live and talk live, and again, it's just to kind of have those cathartic moments, those shared moments. I don't go out and drink in bars anymore, so it's a cool way to sit around and hang out with a bunch of members of Raider Nation and talk Raider football, and especially when it's, like you said, it's emotional, right? It's in the moment. You're fresh off of a loss or a win, whichever way it goes. And so that was really cool. So please join us there, the Raiders Fan Radio fan page on Facebook.
And again, next week, this Friday, we're set to interview John Kingdon. He is one of the authors of the new book about Al Davis called Behind the Raiders Shield, Untold Stories from Longtime Davis Confidants. We are told, actually by Steve Corcoran, that John Kingdon was a very close confidant of Al Davis, worked for the Raiders for a number of years, and is a great storyteller. So we're looking forward to that interview. We'll conduct it this Friday, and then we'll drop that on the podcast for next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And yeah, man. Until then, Murph, it's Raider Nation, wherever, forever.
Not even the wizardry of Fred Belitnikoff, you bastard name there,